I lent my cousin my favorite jacket for one night. She claimed it as her own on social media and gaslit me when I asked for it back. I let the crooked label I sewed inside do all the talking. Before going to forward in the story, please subscribe my channel and like and share this video.
I've always been that person in the family who cares a lot about my stuff. Not in a spoiled way, just in a sentimental way. If I buy something nice, I keep it for years. If I love a piece of clothing, I treat it like it's special. My favorite jacket was one of those things. It wasn't designer or super expensive, it didn't have a fancy brand name, but it looked expensive. The cut was perfect, the fabric had weight to it, and it sat on my shoulders in a way that made even a basic outfit look put together. I found it years ago in a tiny shop, and it never fit quite right, so I had the sleeves tailored. Then I swapped the buttons for these subtle matte black ones. It slowly became my jacket, like something custom-made for me. I also have this weird habit. I sew tiny cloth labels into my nicer pieces. It's not for branding or anything dramatic. I'm just forgetful, and I've had clothes disappear at parties and family events before. Nothing big, just sweaters or scarves that never make it back home. So for the stuff I really care about, I sew a little tag inside with my name and the year I sewed it in. It's crooked and homemade, but it makes me feel better. Enter my cousin. She's 27, stylish, always on social media, always talking about aesthetics and vibes and curated wardrobes. She and I have always had a complicated relationship. We're friendly, but she's the type who borrows things and forgets to return them. Not in a malicious way, just careless and kind of entitled. A few months ago, she messaged me out of nowhere. She had a work event and wanted to borrow my jacket. She said it would just be one night. She promised no food, no smoking, no spills. She'd hang it up carefully and she'd drop it off the very next day. She even said, "I'll treat it better than my own clothes, I swear." I hesitated, I really did, but she's family and I didn't want to be difficult, so I said yes. She picked it up, gushed about how good it looked, took a mirror selfie in my hallway, and left. The next day, I waited. No message, no jacket. So I texted her gently, "Hey, whenever you're free, can you drop the jacket off? No rush." She replied with, "OMG, I totally forgot. I'll bring it next week." Okay, fine. Stuff happens. Next week came. Nothing. I texted again. She said she was out of town. Then she started getting a little snippy, like I was annoying her by wanting my own jacket back. That already rubbed me the wrong way. But then, things got weird. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through social media and saw her post. It was a full outfit shot, and there it was, my jacket, on her, styled with boots and sunglasses, and a caption that said something like, "New staple, obsessed." People in the comments were asking where she got it. She replied, "Vintage find." My stomach dropped. I stared at that photo for a long time. It wasn't even subtle. She was acting like she owned it, like she discovered it, like it was part of her curated wardrobe. I messaged her. I kept it polite. I said, "Hey, that's my jacket. Can you bring it back soon? I've been looking for it." Her reply? "Lol, it's literally just a jacket." Then she hit me with the classic gaslight combo. She said maybe we had similar ones. She said she didn't remember borrowing it. She said I was making drama over nothing. I felt stupid for caring. It's just a jacket, right? But it wasn't about the jacket anymore. It was about her acting like I was crazy for recognizing my own clothes. So I stopped arguing. I waited. After that whole gaslighting conversation, I didn't know what to do at first. I typed out a bunch of replies in my notes app and deleted them. Some were angry, some were sarcastic, some were long explanations about why it mattered to me. I didn't send any of them. Arguing with her felt pointless. She already decided I was being dramatic, and no amount of explaining was going to change that. She had that tone people get when they've convinced themselves they're right and anyone disagreeing is just being sensitive. So I just stopped. I muted her chat, I didn't comment on the photo, I didn't bring it up again. On the outside, it probably looked like I dropped it. On the inside, I was annoyed, but also weirdly calm. I knew exactly how I could prove it was mine. I just needed the right moment. The thing about my cousin is that she loves an audience. She loves looking put together in front of family.
She loves being the stylish one, the fashion cousin, and she also hates being called out. I knew a big public confrontation would make me look dramatic, and she'd spin it as me attacking her. So I didn't plan anything loud or aggressive. I just planned to let the truth show itself in the most casual way possible. A couple weeks later, my aunt hosted a small family get-together. Nothing fancy, just coffee, desserts, a few relatives, and everyone taking turns holding my baby cousin. It was one of those chill family afternoons where people sit around and talk about random stuff. I almost didn't go, but then I thought about the jacket. I had a feeling she'd wear it. She loved showing off new outfits at family gatherings, and sure enough, when I walked in, there she was, wearing my jacket. She was sitting on the couch, laughing loudly, acting like the main character of the room. The jacket was draped perfectly, like she'd styled the whole outfit around it. For a second, I felt that familiar frustration, that mix of anger and disbelief. But I didn't say anything. I grabbed a drink, said hi to everyone, and acted normal. I complimented my aunt's desserts, talked to my uncle, played with the baby. I waited. The longer I waited, the calmer I felt. I wasn't shaking or plotting some dramatic reveal. I was just patient. At some point, she got up and took the jacket off, hanging it on the back of a chair. She was clearly comfortable, like it was hers, like she'd never borrowed it from me, like she'd never told people it was a vintage find. That's when I knew it was time. I walked over with the most casual smile I could manage. I pointed at the jacket and said, in the sweetest voice, "That looks really good on you. Where did you end up getting it? I love that cut." She smiled instantly. You could tell she loved being asked about her outfit. She said, loud enough for people around us to hear, "Right? I scored it ages ago. I just never wore it." That sentence made my jaw clench, but I stayed calm. I laughed lightly and said, "No way. Can I see the inside? I did a little repair on mine and I'm curious if it's the same." Her expression changed for just a second. She hesitated, then tried to step back a little, like she suddenly remembered something. That tiny moment told me everything. She knew. I didn't grab the jacket aggressively. I just walked over, pinched the inner seam near the collar, and flipped it open like it was no big deal. And there it was, my tiny cloth label, crooked stitching, my first name, the year I sewed it in, clear as day.
For a second, I just stared at the little label, even though I already knew it would be there. Seeing it in that moment felt surreal. All the frustration, the gaslighting, the "maybe you're imagining it" messages, gone in one quiet second of fabric and thread. I didn't make a big announcement. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look angry. I just turned slightly so my aunt could see and said in the calmest tone, "Oh good, it is mine. I'm so relieved. I thought I lost it." The room went silent in that very specific family way. Not dramatic, not shocked gasps, just this sudden stillness where everyone pretends they weren't listening, but absolutely were. My cousin's face went through about 5 emotions in 3 seconds. First confusion, then panic, then embarrassment, then anger. She laughed, but it was too loud and too fast, like she was trying to cover something. She said, "Oh my God, you're embarrassing me. Why would you do that in front of everyone?" I looked at her and said, still calm, "You embarrassed yourself when you decided keeping it was easier to return it. No yelling, no insults, just a fact." My aunt leaned forward, squinting at the label. "Why would you say you found it vintage if it has your name in it?" she asked. My cousin tried to shrug it off. She said something about forgetting, about mixing things up, about it being not a big deal. But nobody was really buying it. I gently lifted the jacket off the chair, slipped it on, and walked back toward the kitchen like this was the most normal thing in the world. No dramatic exit, no storming out, just reclaiming my jacket. Behind me, I could hear her whispering, trying to pull me aside. "Can we talk? Why did you have to do that like that?" she said. But my aunt cut in before I could even respond. "Why would you lie about something so small? Just return what you borrowed," she said, shaking her head. That was honestly the best part. I didn't have to argue. I didn't have to defend myself. The facts were literally stitched into the fabric. My cousin went quiet after that. She sat down, scrolled on her phone, avoided eye contact. A few relatives gave me little looks like, "Good for you,"
without actually saying it. The gathering went on, but the vibe shifted slightly. Not in a dramatic way, just in that subtle family way where something awkward happened and everyone pretends it didn't. A little while later, she left early. No big goodbye, just grabbed her bag, mumbled something about being tired, and walked out. I heard the door slam. I stayed. I ate cake, I held the baby, I talked to my aunt about random stuff like nothing happened. Inside, I felt this weird mix of adrenaline and calm. I wasn't shaking, I wasn't guilty, I wasn't even that angry anymore. It felt resolved. Later that night, my phone buzzed. It was her. She said I was petty and vindictive. She said I cared more about stuff than family. She said I humiliated her on purpose and that I should have handled it privately. I replied with one sentence, I care about basic respect. She didn't respond after that. The next few days were interesting. Family texts started trickling in. Some people were subtle, like, saw what happened with the jacket, wild. And others just sent memes, probably to diffuse the tension. My aunt, surprisingly, didn't make a huge deal, but she gave me this little side-eye nod when we talked on the phone. It was like she silently approved of how I handled things. Calm, factual, and without drama. My cousin went full spin mode online. She posted pictures of herself looking stylish and tagged the jacket as a vintage gem again. A few friends and distant relatives asked where she got it. Every time, she had to remember the label, and eventually she just couldn't lie about it convincingly. I didn't say a word publicly. I just let the fact that the jacket had my name stitched inside speak for itself. Every time someone asked her about it, she had to confront the truth in her head. That alone was satisfying in a quiet, understated way. No confrontation, no yelling, no calling her out publicly, just letting reality do the talking. I noticed the shift in her behavior when we saw each other afterwards. She avoided wearing the jacket around me, avoided casual selfies in it, and was quieter when I entered the room. It wasn't fear, exactly, more like awareness. She knew she couldn't casually claim my things anymore. There was no social leverage left for her, and it showed. People kept asking me privately, "Did you really sew your name in there?" They'd whisper with a smile. I'd just nod, like it was the most obvious thing. And the funniest part, nobody thought I was overreacting. Everyone understood why I cared, even if they chuckled a little at how meticulous I was with my label. My cousin texted a few more times, trying a mix of guilt and fake friendliness. I didn't mean to make it a big deal. Can we just move on? I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Her attempts to rewrite history or make me feel guilty didn't work anymore, because the proof was literally sewn into the jacket. The whole situation made me reflect on boundaries. For years, I'd let family members borrow things, hoping people would be respectful or just doing the right thing. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But now I realize that setting a boundary isn't petty, it's essential. Asking for your belongings back, especially when someone acts entitled, isn't being dramatic, it's expecting basic respect. I also thought about my cousin's behavior. Why did she act like it was hers? Probably because she's used to people letting her slide, or maybe she just liked the idea of something stylish and easy to claim. But the truth is, it doesn't matter why. The jacket was mine, and I wasn't going to let someone erase that. I felt a strange sense of relief, not triumph in the I got her back sense, but relief that I didn't cave in, that I didn't argue endlessly, and that I didn't let her make me doubt myself. I had handled it calmly, quietly, and conclusively. It felt controlled, like I was finally letting the little things in life go only when they deserved to and standing firm when they mattered. By the time a few weeks had passed, the incident had faded into family lore. Aunts whispered about it over coffee, uncles chuckled quietly at the mental image of her getting caught red-handed. And my cousin, she started being more careful, more aware, and less likely to borrow anything without asking properly. The whole experience taught me a lot about respect, boundaries, and patience. And honestly, I don't regret it. Some people call it petty, some people might even think I overreacted. But when you care about your stuff, and more importantly, your dignity, you learn that being firm doesn't make you petty, it makes you consistent. Over the next few months, I started noticing subtle shifts in the way my cousin behaved around me. She stopped casually borrowing things without asking. She no longer tried to one-up me with my own style choices at family gatherings. Even on social media, she became more careful about claiming items as hers. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was the natural consequence of her actions. The little label in the jacket had spoken louder than any argument ever could, and she knew it. Family dynamics shifted too. People who had once rolled their eyes at my meticulousness now gave me quiet nods of acknowledgement. Not praise exactly, but a recognition that I'd handled the situation calmly and with subtle authority. My aunt mentioned it in passing one day, saying, "It's amazing how you handled that jacket thing without making a scene. Most people would have yelled." I just shrugged and smiled. That was the point. I didn't want a scene. I wanted reality to do the talking. Interestingly, my cousin did try to test the waters again a couple times. She'd casually mention that she had similar jackets, or try to wear it near me when she thought I wasn't looking. Each time, I didn't react overtly. I let her see me glance at the label. The little crooked stitching did its magic every time. There was no confrontation, no drama, just a quiet reminder that boundaries exist for a reason. The experience also changed the way I think about family interactions more broadly. It made me realize that politeness and patience are not synonymous with weakness. Being firm, setting boundaries, and calmly asserting yourself does not make you petty or vindictive. Sometimes it's the only way to ensure people respect you, even in small matters. My cousin might have called me petty afterward, but in truth, she was the one who overstepped repeatedly. It also made me more reflective about trust. Lending something, especially something personal or sentimental, is an act of faith. I realized I don't owe anyone my possessions just because they're family. Respect is earned, and repeat offenses can't be excused simply because someone has a close relationship with you. The jacket situation was small, yes, but it was emblematic of how boundaries can be pushed and ignored if not enforced. Looking back, I see that I handled it as gracefully as possible. I didn't escalate, I didn't humiliate her publicly, I didn't drag anyone else into it. I simply let the facts exist and allowed the proof to speak for itself. That felt empowering. It was the first time I'd let subtlety win over shouting, letting patience and quiet control assert the outcome. There were side benefits too. Other family members started treating me differently, albeit in small ways. They seemed to respect my space and possessions more, probably because they realized that I noticed, I remembered, and I wouldn't tolerate dismissive behavior. There was no resentment or malice on my part, just a clear line drawn. That line worked, and it was silently acknowledged. The jacket itself took on new significance after that, not just as a favorite piece of clothing, but as a reminder of self-respect and boundaries. Every time I wear it now, I remember the way I handled the situation. Calmly, quietly, confidently. The label inside isn't just my name, it's a symbol of claiming what's mine, asserting myself without drama, and letting facts speak louder than words. My cousin and I still see each other at family gatherings, though there's a noticeable distance. She's cordial, even polite, but the dynamic has shifted. There's no passive-aggressive posturing or attempts to borrow things without permission. The tension is gone in the sense that it doesn't flare up anymore. The lesson has been learned. Reflecting on it, I don't feel bitterness. I feel clarity. I feel a quiet pride that I didn't stoop to name-calling, public shaming, or escalation. I simply relied on reality, the crooked label, the evidence stitched by my own hands, to assert the truth. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me in more than just family interactions. It's about respecting yourself, asserting boundaries calmly, and trusting that patience and subtlety can sometimes deliver justice better than confrontation ever could. Over time, the jacket incident became a quiet lesson for both of us. My cousin didn't make a scene or openly admit wrongdoing, but her behavior changed. She stopped trying to claim other things as hers, and I never had to bring it up again.
The crooked little label I'd sewn inside did all the talking. It was almost poetic how something so small could have such a lasting effect. I also noticed a shift in how I approached similar situations. Before, I might have reacted impulsively, angry texts, arguments, guilt trips. Now I realized patience, subtlety, and evidence could be more effective than confrontation. There's power in staying calm, letting facts show themselves, and avoiding unnecessary drama. That jacket wasn't just a piece of clothing anymore. It was a tangible reminder that boundaries and respect matter, even in seemingly small matters. Family gatherings became easier. The air felt lighter because I no longer carried that irritation or frustration. She and I would exchange polite smiles, and it didn't feel forced. There was a mutual, unspoken acknowledgement of the lesson learned. She knew I remembered, I knew she knew, and that was enough. I didn't need apologies, nor did I expect them. Some lessons in life aren't about words, they're about actions and consequences. It also gave me perspective on what really matters. Yes, it was a jacket, but it was mine. It represented my taste, my care, my effort, and more importantly, my right to assert ownership and respect. I realized that standing up for yourself, even in small ways, can prevent bigger issues down the line. That realization has helped me in other areas, lending things to friends, sharing personal space, and even in professional situations where boundaries are often tested. I don't feel vindictive when I think about it. I don't want anyone to feel humiliated, but I do feel satisfied. Satisfied that I didn't have to yell or argue to reclaim what was mine. Satisfied that patience and planning allowed me to handle the situation with grace. Satisfied that I made a clear statement about respect without turning it into a spectacle. Sometimes I still glance at that label inside the jacket when I put it on, and I smile quietly to myself. It's a reminder that self-respect and quiet assertiveness are worth more than drama, arguments, or proving a point loudly. I didn't need revenge or public shaming. I didn't need confrontation. I just needed to wait for the right moment and let the facts do the talking. And honestly, that lesson is far more valuable than any jacket ever could be. My cousin may have learned hers, but I learned mine too. Calm patience, clever subtlety, and self-respect can carry far further than anger ever does. That small act, the crooked little label, taught me a lesson I'll carry with me for life, in family, in friendships, and in every situation where boundaries matter. The jacket stays with me now, worn, loved, and fully mine. And every time I slip it on, I remember the way I handled the situation. Calmly, quietly, confidently. The label inside isn't just my name, it's a symbol of claiming what's mine, asserting myself without drama, and letting facts speak louder than words. My cousin and I still see each other at family gatherings, though there's a noticeable distance. She's cordial, even polite, but the dynamic has shifted. There's no passive-aggressive posturing or attempts to borrow things without permission. The tension is gone in the sense that it doesn't flare up anymore. The lesson has been learned. Reflecting on it, I don't feel bitterness. I feel clarity. I feel a quiet pride that I didn't stoop to name-calling, public shaming, or escalation. I simply relied on reality, the crooked label, the evidence stitched by my own hands, to assert the truth. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me in more than just family interactions. It's about respecting yourself, asserting boundaries calmly, and trusting that patience and subtlety can sometimes deliver justice better than confrontation ever could.